Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Before we get into the main topic of today's video, I do want to bring to your attention an update that has happened overnight for me in Australia, during the day for you guys in the States and the rest of the world. If you've watched my previous video on this topic, then you'll remember that it was about Amber's fight to keep her counterclaim going. So Johnny is objecting to her counterclaim and has filed a demurrer to get it dismissed. So in this last video, I presented my own arguments in response to her filing. And I thought I was gonna have to make a video about Johnny's latest filing in response, but honestly, it was almost verbatim the same arguments that I personally presented in my last video, so there's no point because I'll just be repeating myself at this point. Another filing overnight was in response to Amber's motion to the court to force Johnny to give a deposition in Virginia or California in early October. And we already talked about how this will completely be in conflict with his filming schedule for Fantastic Beasts. So again, I presented my own arguments in a previous video, which I'll be putting down below and also linking in the description box. And Johnny's team mirrored the arguments once again, so I won't be repeating them. We're on the same page. Good to know. All right, now for today's topic. I get this question so often that I would possibly rank it as one of the top most questions that I receive. And I have responded to them whenever I catch them, one-on-one in comments, but it's just such a common question that I thought I would make a video about it to address it. And that question is, as you can garner from the title, why have there been no criminal charges filed against Amber for the physical assault that she has allegedly committed against Johnny? And yes, unfortunately, I do have to use the word allegedly at this point because it hasn't been proven in a court of law and there is a presumption of innocence. So in addition to that question, people also want to know, can criminal charges ever be brought against Amber in the future? And I'll be responding to both of these questions to the best of my ability in today's video. When it comes to criminal charges, the police are the first port of call. So a victim would go to the police, file a report, a complaint, the police assess it, analyze whether they have enough evidence to press charges and to pursue the matter any further. But the key here is filing a complaint. Now, there are exceptions to that and I will get to it, but they don't apply to Johnny. Johnny, as we all know, for whatever reason he has, and I'm sure he has his reasons, has never filed any reports or complaints or tried to press charges against Amber. Criminal charges are a really serious thing in a lot of people's minds, and sometimes when you love someone or you used to love someone, you feel like you don't want to go that far. You don't want to go as far as to involve the police and the authorities and press charges against them. So the obstacle here is that because Johnny never filed a complaint, the police can't really pursue Amber and press charges and then refer them up to the prosecution to have her prosecuted. And I know that this is frustrating, but that is essentially how the police work. They work this way here in Australia, where I live, and they work the same in the United States. An example of this is when the police were called over to the penthouse on the 21st of May, 2016, and they kept asking Amber whether she wanted to file a report or press charges or do anything about the situation, and she said no. So they didn't do anything about it. They didn't go, oh, well, we're gonna press charges for you. We're gonna do this on your behalf. The police don't intervene on your behalf unless, of course, you're dead, so you're a murder victim. But as long as a victim is capable of filing a report, then that is the missing link, or I guess the obstacle that must be overcome in order to pursue matters further. Now, the key word here is capable. You must be capable of doing so. If you're a minor, if you're a child, if you're an elderly person, if you're disabled, the police can and do intervene on your behalf. But of course, they still have to be alerted to the issue by maybe a neighbor, a friend, a family member. I'm sure Johnny has his own reasons for not doing so, but the outcome of this entire defamation fiasco would be so different if he did. Can you imagine how much stronger his case would be if there were actual filings made with the police every time she physically assaulted him? I mean, his case is already strong. He's already got documented photographic evidence and phone recordings of all the things that she said and did to him, which is great, don't get me wrong. Any evidence provided by the police would have more weight in the eyes of a court because, let's face it, unfortunately, there are people who can fake injuries, and you know exactly who I'm talking about, and take photographs of them as proof of the abuse that they suffered. Now, I'm not saying Johnny's doing the same thing. I'm just explaining why the courts would favor evidence from the police more so than evidence provided directly from private individuals who are pitted up against each other. So to summarize that answer, Amber isn't being prosecuted for the physical assault that she may have inflicted on Johnny because Johnny never filed a complaint against her. And by the way, this covers the Australia finger incident. The police won't pursue the matter because Johnny never filed a complaint. Even though it's all over the news and there's no doubt that they know about it, they're not going to pursue Amber. There's also, of course, jurisdictional issues. She's in the States. They're going to have to extradite her all the way to Australia to prosecute her for it. And that's going to cost a lot of time and money for the prosecution. And so they're most likely not going to do that. As for the question of the potential of charging her in the future, again, that comes down to Johnny and also the statute of limitations. Now, the statute of limitations, or the limitation period, the time limit that you can take action against someone for an offense that they committed, differs from state to state, country to country. It's not a universal standard time period. So I'm not aware of the various time limitations that apply in California or in other jurisdictions in the United States when it comes to criminal offenses. In Australia, for the most part, criminal offenses don't have a limitation period unless they're a summary or minor offense. Indictable offenses, which are serious offenses, don't have a limitation period. So with regards to his finger incident in Australia, theoretically, Johnny can press charges against Amber, or at least file a report against her for what she did to him in Queensland. But for the reasons that I just discussed before, which is extraditing her and the passage of time, even though there's no statute of limitations, I mentioned this a lot in my cases, especially about sexual assault cases. Time is of the essence. The more time passes, the less likely it is for the prosecution to press charges, and that's mainly because courts don't like historical cases. Now, I know it sounds ridiculous to call a 5-year case a historical case, but that is the reality. As for the United States, assuming it's a similar situation to Australia where indictable criminal offenses don't have a time limit during which the offense can be prosecuted, then theoretically, again, Johnny can file a report. And then it's up to the police to look at his evidence and decide whether they want to press charges against Amber. But in reality, the same arguments apply. There are obviously going to be a lot less hurdles because they don't have to extradite her. She is a US citizen and she is primarily based in the US. So prosecuting her, getting her there physically will not be an issue. But it's going to come down to passage of time. Why didn't you file this before? Police do question victims on that. Why now? Why not when it actually happened? And of course, that doesn't mean that the victim is lying. Sometimes the victim was young when it happened, or they didn't know that they were assaulted when it happened. I know it sounds ridiculous, but there are many young men out there who don't really think that being hit or sexually abused by a woman is worthy of a complaint. And that's part of my mission here in my channel, to let these younger men know that that's not right. And of course you can complain. But these questions are standard, they're routine, they're not offensive, or they're not trying to discredit you in any way. They have to know the full picture before they decide what to do next. So in summary, for this question, can charges be brought against Amber in the future? Subject to a statute of limitations issue, I would say yes, in theory, but in practice, probably not. That's it for this video. I hope it answered that question. As I said, I get it far too often, and I'm gonna start directing people to this video when I receive it in the future. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I know it's disheartening to hear about things like a lot of time passed, so the likelihood of prosecution is unlikely, but especially when it's just the one victim, and I've said this in previous videos, passage of time is an issue. The more victims there are, the less likely that the passage of time will be an issue. So you can look at Harvey Weinstein, Bill Cosby, all of these men, or criminals, because it's not just men, have a number of victims speaking out against them. And so the time issue is greatly diminished. In Johnny's case, it's just him, his word versus her word. He has photographic evidence, which really bolsters his case. But it really doesn't look like he's planning on doing that. Because let's face it, if he was ever going to press charges against her, he would have by now. I think what he cares about is clearing his name and not necessarily making sure that Amber gets punished for what she allegedly did to him. All right, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, and I'll catch you in a future video.